Chapter 3: The Glitch That Saved the Game. Previously, Elias turned a rigged match into a public victory by weaponizing server lag, but Coach Vance has now threatened to sabotage tomorrow's draft to trap him. With the team's hotfix looming and Jax controlling the picks, Elias must navigate a political minefield where survival depends on outsmarting his own allies. Now, Chapter 3 begins. The practice room hummed with the low-frequency thrum of server racks, a sound that usually signaled focus, but today felt like the ticking of a bomb. On the main display, the draft lobby for the scrimmage against the league leaders was live-streamed to 300,000 viewers. The chat scrolled so fast it was a blur of neon text, a digital waterfall of anticipation and cruelty. "Lock it in," Jack said, his voice dripping with feigned confidence. He leaned back in his ergonomic chair, spinning a stylus between his fingers as if conducting an orchestra rather than orchestrating a public execution. Top lane, the Iron Warden, full tank build. A collective gasp rippled through the team's private voice channel. Even the veteran substitute sitting next to Elias sucked in a sharp breath. The Iron Warden was a joke. In the current meta, dominated by hypermobile assassins and percent health shredders, the Warden had a win rate hovering near 0. His shield mechanic was clunky, his movement speed glacial, and his ultimate ability widely considered the most telegraphed skill in the game. "You're joking," the substitute muttered, eyes wide behind his monitor. "Jax, they've picked a dive composition. If Elias takes that, he'll be deleted before the minions even clash." Jax ignored him, turning slightly to address the stream camera hidden in the corner. "It's a sacrifice play," he announced, tone magnanimous. "We need someone to absorb their initial burst so the rest of us can scale. Elias understands his role. He's here to protect the carry. That's me." On screen, the rival team's manager, a charismatic agitator known for stirring pots on social media, immediately leaked the draft selection to Twitter. Within seconds, the hashtags trended: Elias suicide pick asterisk, fixed match asterisk, fire the analyst asterisk. The narrative was set before the game loaded. Elias was the scapegoat, the weak link thrown to the wolves to save Jax's KDA. Coach Vance stood in the shadows behind the players' row, arms crossed. He hadn't spoken since the draft began. His silence was heavier than any shout. It was the quiet of a judge waiting to see if the condemned man would beg. He watched Elias' hands. Would they tremble? Would there be a protest? Elias didn't flinch. His face was a mask of calm, illuminated by the blue glow of his secondary monitor where his analytical overlay ran. While the world saw a broken hero, Elias saw data streams. He recalled patch notes from 6 months ago, buried deep in the changelog, regarding collision physics and shield vector calculations. He visualized the geometry of the map's northern canyon choke point, specifically the texture mapping on the wall. "Just stand there and die quietly," Jax whispered, leaning close enough for the mic to pick up the static of his disdain. "Don't try to be a hero. Just feed them your body so the real players can work." Elias clicked the confirmation button. The lock-in sound echoed, final and stark. "Understood," he said, voice flat. "I'll hold the line." Inside, the humiliation burned, but it was instantly quenched by cold calculation. Jax thought he was sending a lamb to the slaughter. He didn't realize he had just handed Elias a loaded gun disguised as a walking tomb. The game loaded. The map materialized in shades of gray and green. The stream chat spammed emotes of laughter. "Here we go," the lead commentator's voice filtered through the room speakers. "Team Apex, led by Captain Jax, has made a baffling choice. The Iron Warden against the league leader's triple assassin lineup, this looks like an early surrender gift." Jax's team moved out aggressively, grouping mid to secure the first wave, leaving Elias alone in the top lane. Exactly as planned. He was isolated, a solitary figure trudging toward the enemy tower while the rival jungler and mid laner vanished into the fog of war. They were coming for him. Elias walked his character to a specific coordinate he had memorized. It wasn't the optimal farming spot. It wasn't the safe zone. It was a patch of terrain near the river entrance, where the stone wall met a jagged outcrop of crystal. To anyone else, it was scenery. To Elias, it was a trigger. The enemy ace, a mechanical god known for flawless burst combos, appeared from the brush. He didn't hesitate. He activated his dash, closing the gap instantly, followed by his ultimate. A massive cone of void energy designed to shatter shields and delete tanks in a single frame. The chat exploded. There it is. Goodbye, Elias. Clip this for the blooper reel. Jax smirked, watching the kill feed, waiting for the notification that would cement his narrative of Elias' incompetence. Elias did not retreat. He did not pop defensive items early. He waited until the void energy was pixels away from his hitbox. Then, he pressed the shield ability. But he didn't just activate it. He angled his character model precisely 45 degrees against the wall texture, timing the activation to the millisecond the enemy ultimate connected. On the server side, a hidden rule triggered. The game engine, struggling to resolve the interaction between the warden's expanding shield bubble, the incoming void damage, and the specific collision box of the crystal wall, glitched. Instead of absorbing the damage, the shield impacted the wall and rebounded. A shockwave erupted. 40% of the incoming damage reflected instantly back onto the enemy ace. More importantly, the physics engine registered a hard collision event, applying a stun status effect to the attacker. The screen flashed white. The enemy ace, certain of a kill, froze in place, his health bar dropping dangerously low from his own reflected power. Silence fell over the practice room. Even Jax's smirk faltered, eyes widening at his monitor. "What just happened?" the commentator stammered, voice rising an octave. Did the warden just bounce the ultimate? That's not in the tooltip." Elias didn't waste the 0.5-second window on panic. His fingers flew across the keyboard, executing a crowd control ability saved solely for this moment. He didn't aim to kill, he aimed to isolate. A chain of iron shackles shot out, rooting the stunned ace, cutting him off from teammates rushing to assist. "Collapse!" Elias barked into the comms, his voice cutting through the confusion. The veteran substitute, playing jungle, reacted on instinct. He surged from the river, diving onto the isolated ace. With the enemy's star player rooted and weakened by his own reflected damage, the kill was trivial. First blood flashed across the screen. Apex veteran has slain League ace. The chat shifted from mockery to absolute chaos. Question marks flooded the stream. Bug, hack, how? Jax slammed his hand on the desk. "Lucky hit," he shouted, though no one was listening. The commentators were already replaying the clip in slow motion, analyzing the angle, the timing, the impossible physics. "Look at that positioning. It's deliberate." Elias knew exactly where to stand. Elias ignored the praise. He was already moving. He rotated toward mid lane, bypassing the standard path. Instead of using his mobility skill to generate a shield as intended, he used it as a dash, exploiting the cooldown reduction build he had secretly assembled. While everyone expected a tank to build health, Elias had stacked ability haste. He slipped past the enemy frontline, a gray behemoth moving with unnatural speed. He crashed into the enemy backline just as their mage began channeling a game-changing ultimate. Elias interrupted the channel, forcing the enemy to burn flash spells to escape a target they couldn't burst down. His shield recharged almost instantly, allowing him to soak follow-up damage that should have killed him twice over. "They can't kill him," the rival coach yelled in background audio picked up by the stream. "His cooldowns are too fast, he's zoning our entire backline." Confusion turned to realization among the spectators. This wasn't a suicide pick, it was a trap. Elias wasn't playing the hero, he was weaponizing the environment. 20 minutes later, the game hung in the balance at the barren pit. The rival team, desperate to regain control, forced a team fight. They needed to wipe Apex to secure the objective. "Engage," Jax ordered, voice tight with desperation. He wanted Elias to walk in front to take the hits, to die so Jax could clean up the remnants and claim victory as his strategic genius. Warden, front and center, take the damage. Elias ignored the command. He pulled his character back, hiding behind a pillar of fog of war. He tracked enemy summoner spells. He saw flashes pop as the enemy committed to diving Jax. He saw cooldown timers tick down in his mental spreadsheet. Now, Elias whispered. He flanked from the unseen angle, approaching the same wall geometry he had used earlier. The enemy team, clustered tightly to focus fire on Jax, never saw the gray giant coming. Elias activated the shield against the wall. The bounce triggered again, but this time the angle was wider, the impact harder. The shockwave rippled outward, hitting 3 members of the enemy team simultaneously. 3 stuns, 3 seconds of helpless paralysis. Ace potential, the commentator screamed. Jax has the opening. Jax, seeing the enemies frozen, unleashed his full rotation. He tore through them, securing the ace, wiping the entire enemy roster. The crowd roared, ready to crown Jax the savior. But before Jax could finish his celebration animation, Elias was already attacking the Baron. His attack speed, boosted by passive resets, melted the monster's health bar. By the time Jax turned around, the buff icon was already glowing above Elias' head. Elias had controlled the pace. He had dictated the flow. Jax was merely the executioner, Elias was the architect. The nexus exploded. Victory. In the practice room, the mood was fractured. The veteran substitute cheered, slapping Elias on the back. That was insane. Did you see that bounce? Twice. Jax sat frozen, hands hovering over his keyboard. He had won the game, but he had lost the narrative. The MVP vote flashed on screen. It wasn't close. Elias, with the trash hero, the 0-win rate pick, had taken every single vote. The clip of the wall bounce stun was already being edited into highlight reels, titled, "The Glitch That Saved the Game." Coach Vance stepped forward, clapping slowly. The sound was dry, devoid of warmth. "Good mechanics," he said, eyes locking onto Elias. "Pack up, my office, now." The celebration died instantly. Elias nodded, standing up and unplugging his peripherals. He felt Jax's glare burning into his back, a mix of fury and fear, but it was Vance's unreadable expression that sent a chill down his spine. Elias walked down the hallway, the muffled sounds of confused celebration fading behind him. He entered the small, sterile office. Vance was already seated, a single sheet of paper resting on the polished surface. "Sit," Vance commanded. Elias sat. He expected a congratulation or perhaps a warning about insubordination. Vance didn't speak. He simply slid the paper across the desk. It wasn't a performance review. It was a formal cease and desist letter on league letterhead. The bold text at the top read, "Notice of intent to sanction, exploitation of unintended physics engine behavior." Elias scanned the document quickly. The league had flagged the wall bounce mechanic. They classified it as an exploit, not a strategy. The penalty for repeated use was immediate match forfeiture and a potential season-long ban. "The patch drops in 12 hours, Vance said, voice low and dangerous. "They're fixing the collision bug you used. If you try that trick again in an official match, you're done. Contract terminated. Blacklisted." Vance leaned forward, eyes narrowing. "You saved your job today, Elias, but you just painted a target on your back the size of a billboard. The league doesn't like anomalies, and I don't like players who make my life difficult with bureaucracy." Elias looked at the paper, then up at the coach. The victory felt suddenly hollow, replaced by the crushing weight of a ticking clock. He had proven his worth, but the rules of the game had changed beneath his feet. 12 hours, Elias repeated softly. "Make them count," Vance said, turning his chair toward the window. "Because after tomorrow, that hero is dead. And if you can't win without breaking the game, you're useless to me." Elias stood, the paper crinkling in his grip. He walked out into the hallway. Outside, the world celebrated his genius. Inside, he knew the truth. The very thing that had saved him was now a death sentence, and the clock was already ticking toward the hotfix that would erase his only advantage. In the next chapter, with the glitch patched and Jax's public stream looming, Elias must master a forbidden mechanic before the anti-cheat system turns his every move into a crime.